Hello, welcome to Productions MJC. My name's Mark, and today we're going to be discussing Earth, disk or a ball. Now, this is in response to an excellent video I saw. Won't mention who produced it, but I saw this where there was this hula hoop and they were saying the Earth is a circle, it's not a ball, and the rebuttals that this video was getting were just short. They didn't have any real information. They lacked detail. And I asked this person, I said, hey, could I use parts of this video? I'd like to form a rebuttal and show you what I think. And graciously, this person accepted and said, hey, yeah, sure. Tell me what you think. Show me what you got, basically. So what I'm going to do after looking at the video, I'm going to make an amateurish video. Let's face it. My video is not going to be slick. Their videos are excellent, really, really good. There's three I can think of that make great videos. But these flat Earth videos have, while having the same quality as the stuff Hollywood produces, they warn us about the slick videos that Hollywood produces. So let's take a look. Let's get into this where Skeptic Dog will question the veracity of their claims. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to present an argument in favor of and then an argument against. The argument in favor, I will try to surmise exactly what they're saying and present it like they would, and then I will rebut that. They talk about perspective and convergence a lot. That's their two main subjects. And this is basically what is said. As we gaze off into the distance, the ground rises up and the sky comes down to our level of vision. Where the two meet or converge, we call it the horizon. And we see this best over calm water. They call it the convergence line. See, but going back to this video, Earth, circle, not a ball. This is how they show it. Great stuff, great graphics. Nothing, I'm not going to even come close, but I'm going to try to explain it the best way I can. There are converging parallel lines from the ground and converging parallel lines from the sky, and where the two meet, they don't call the horizon, they call it the convergence line. And this is our perspective. This is how we view the world. And this perspective, as they point to, is just in reality our eye looking at the information out there and telling the brain what we see. Another part of the video, excellent stuff showing this, the red line angling down is the sun or moon, but what we see is actually the yellow as it floats across, and there's a better illustration of that later on. But this is how it looks to our eyes. The trees get smaller as they go to the convergence line, the horizon, and there's the moon over the convergence line before it disappears behind it. This is what it looks like to them. This is the perception of it. And this is their perspective matrix. This is a demonstration of how the lines of convergence go to the horizon. You can see the little illustration of the moon over there. Keep in mind that I'll rebut, but this is how they say, if you sit in a boat, the water rises up on the sides, and this is how we perceive it. There's a cone of perspective that we have, that our eyes have. That's the flat Earth assertion. And excellent graphic from that same video showing how the water rises up and it blocks the view of the building on the far side. This great graphics explaining this, their version of what's going on, and this explains it very well, exactly how it's happening on their flat Earth. And there's an animated version of this. It's a screen grab I was allowed to use. It's horrible, not because of what they did, but because it was a screen grab. But the actual path of the sun over the flat Earth it's flat as well. It's horizontal. But our perception, that cone of perception, we see it go up and then down when it's actually going flat because we don't see it exactly as it's happening. These lines, these slots are parallel, but we perceive it through perception as bending down to the vanishing point over there on the convergence line, the horizon. The green ones go down. The sun, according to their model, goes straight flat across the top, just like the Earth is flat. And keep in mind, note too, that the noon, it occupies one slot, and as it goes down, just keep in mind that down near the bottom, near 5 o'clock, it occupies 5. We'll talk about that. This is an excellent drawing of theirs from another video showing this is the perception. This is our perception of what happens. But it's actually just floating flat across the top. And this is a pretty good artist's rendition of what's happening. Here's the argument against everything I just said. So, perspective is actually just a drawing term. It doesn't exist in reality. Our perception from our eyes isn't what's happening. It's not happening that way. The trees don't angle off into the distance. They're still parallel. They don't move. Trees don't move. So we're back to this again. Let me explain it again. This is a perception, yes. But if you'll notice the moon, it's the same size as this little dot down in the right-hand corner. You can stop the video and measure it if you'd like. They're the same size. Keep that in mind because the moon from horizon to horizon and especially at its apex stays the same size in reality, in life. That moon looks absolutely gigantic on this drawing because it's an optical illusion. So here's that animation, and I apologize for the quality of it, but it explains things quite well. There's a couple of things I have wrong with this. I have a problem with the fact that they say it travels flat, yet in our vision it angles up and down. Because in their flat Earth model, it has to travel flat. If this was an airplane traveling flat across the top, we would see the front of the plane, we would see the side of the plane, the wing, and then as it travels off in the distance, we would see the tail of the plane. We would see hundreds of different views of the plane if we actually watched it. And it would be a tiny speck, grow to be a big plane, and then disappear as a tiny speck again. But their animation shows it exactly the same size from horizon to horizon. It occupies one slot of these parallel convergence lines, as they call them. But look down at the bottom. It's like 10 of them. If it was really perception, it would get small like those trees, like that drawing, like that picture, the artist's perception from just a few frames ago. They draw it both ways. They draw it getting big and small because that's the way it has to do in a perception drawing, in a perspective drawing, pardon me. And here's another argument. We know that the ground is, and more importantly, water don't angle up. Even flat Earth proponents say water is flat, right? So look at this. A perception cone where the water angles up all around us like we're in a bowl. That's our perception of it. And they say that's what's happening. But it's an optical illusion. See the little guy, bottom left? And all of these actually are exactly the same size, but because of the way the other lines are drawn, it fools us into thinking it's enormous. There's an enormous disparity in our mind gets fooled into thinking that back one is just huge. But they're the same size. If the size of the one in the far back was kept in perspective, so his feet were on what appears to be the sidewalk, and his head was level with where it is now. His feet would be even with the little guy in the front, and his head would be where that red line is, up that red arrow. He would be absolutely gigantic. It's an optical illusion, the same way with GoPro, as they call it. Fisheye lenses. The old SLRs, you'd snap on a 24 millimeter lens, fisheye lens as they called them, so that you could see a different perspective of what was going on. But it was a distortion of what was in reality, because these lines would bend. And then when you superimpose that over there, this bottom line of that mask that goes around where it says cone of perspective, that it matches. See, it's a distortion. What you're looking at, the illustration they're giving you, is an optical illusion. Just like this. Those two creatures are the same size, but because of the way the lines are drawn, making this look like a tunnel, the back one appears to be huge, occupying the entire breadth, width, and height of that tunnel. But that's only because of the way the lines are drawn. It's an optical illusion. Now, in nature, you've gone out and you've watched fireworks. You've seen things like this in real life. They look flat, like these drawings. The way we draw them in 2 dimensions, we have to draw fat lines towards the center, skinny towards the outside. And the reason we do this is because we can't draw in 3D. We can attempt to make it look like it's 3D. But if you'll notice, each one of these fireworks in real life looks exactly like the top of a dandelion that the seeds are ready to fly off of it. It's a globe, it's a ball, but it looks flat. When you look at them up in the sky and they go boom, if you aren't moving around like an airplane, you can see that they're a globe if you've ever seen, celebrations and that seen from the air. Well, look at this closely. I'm a free thinker and just being my crazy self. I don't follow the rules. I think outside the box. Accept me. I hear that from flat earthers all the time. Just accept what I'm telling you. I think outside the box. Well, they give these labels to themselves of free thinker, critical thinker, skeptic. They apply them to themselves, and yet they don't actually use those principles in reality. Because if you ever said that water angled up, people would think you're nuts. But watch this video, watch any of these videos, and that's what they say. Water angles up. So what's really happening? Okay, I really appreciate this graphic from this video. It slams the door, because they listen to them. They'll say water angles up to magically block your view of the building on the other side. That's what's happening. The water is physically angling up. Then at the same time, they'll tell you the water is flat. But they will tell you that the water magically angles up and blocks the view of the building on the other side, which, if water was flat, like they say, the base of the building is at the base of this little silhouette's feet. I mean, slow down and think about this. I'm going to add in some markings just to show you what I'm talking about. Flat. The yellow line is flat, and the water is angling up. Think about this. Water rises. They say, well, that's just your perception of it. It really isn't happening. Okay, it's your perception of it. If it's only your perception of it, why is it physically blocking the bottom view of the building on the other side? It rises up real quick, It's hiding the bottom of the building through some sort of magic because everything's really flat anyway. Not hardly. Okay, if what they're saying is true, this water has angled up 603 feet to block your view of the building on the other side. But the building on the other side, on the shoreline, is what it is. I mean, take a look. The water magically angled up 603 feet to block your view of the bottom of that building, even though the water according to them, is perfectly flat, and it's at your feet, and it's at the building, at the foot of the building. But somehow the water in the middle angled up. Well, I'll go into detail and explain what's happening. But I wanted to go back to this real quick and show you, they show you this perception. This is not reality because the moon or sun is not tiny at the horizons. The moon is exactly the same size. You can go outside with the moon and you can take a ping pong ball, a marble, you can stick a ping pong ball at the end of a selfie stick and stick it out there, and when it comes up on the horizon, make that ping pong ball the exact same size as the moon. And you can go out every hour and track it, and the moon stays exactly the same size. That can't happen in their perspective matrix. Oh, and by the way, the divergent side is fantasy. It doesn't exist. If you get a stronger telephoto lens, you just stretch this horizontally. There's no such thing as a divergent size. Notice the moon. In this drawing, they draw the moon the same size. Why? I've seen this animated, where the moon stays the same size. Why? Because it does in reality. It doesn't get small at the ends and go big in the middle, which it would have to, like an airplane, a train, a bus, a boat. Everything gets tinier as it moves away from you, except the sun and the moon. They stay the same size. No. Let me show you what's happening. I superimposed their perspective matrix with that clip from the video. Okay? See the blue triangle? I have made the water flat by angling that 8 degrees. What do you see? Look at the little black silhouette that's 5 feet 7 inches, 2 miles from the horizon. Well, actually, he's 2.9 miles, almost 3 in reality, but I digress. Here, just take a look at this. See the little yellow line right above the 5.7? You know, the eyes are angling down. You don't realize it. That is really what's happening. So as we look at this, I mean, water rises. I have to go back to this. Water rises up and blocks the bottom of the building magically somehow? Well, it does in their perspective convergence, but that's not really what's happening. Again, I zoomed in on this to show you I made the water flat in their drawing, and you can see my yellow lines indicating that I've added here. They point to the vision line is angling down just a little bit. The ground doesn't angle up. Water doesn't angle up. You know this. They tell you water's flat. Okay? Think. Water does not rise up. It is an optical illusion. What's really happening? I keep going back to this because I'm going to superimpose that fisheye lens in order to give you an idea of what's happening. The water hasn't risen up. The water hasn't floated up in the air to block your vision magically of the building on the other side. What is going on? Well, let's tilt that thing 8 degrees and you can see. I know you're not going to like what you see, but this is what's really happening. The person's feet are at the water. The water's flat. The yellow angle angles down to see the building. The horizontal flat line, the red line that hits the top of the building, is from your feet. But your eyes looking down, the building looks lower, doesn't it? That's because it is. It has, sorry to say, it's gone around the curve. Water falls away. It never goes up. Water always flows downhill. This is what you're seeing. Once you tilt it and get a little grip of reality here, the reason you're seeing what you're seeing is because your vision, your eyes are tilted down just a few degrees, but you don't notice it. You're not really staring at a flat, perfect 90 degrees. That is what's happening. Again, I wanted to show you this just to show you what's really happening, because you can't argue this point. The water is flat. Okay? You can't argue. I've made the water flat, like it is in reality, like flat earthers say it is, like everybody says water's flat. Okay? Water maintains the same height. It doesn't rise up and magically block your vision of the bottom of the building. The building is lower than you because it's miles away around the curve. Okay? Where senses fail us, reality, where the senses fail us, reason must step in. Reality sometimes is different than we perceive it. And that's the truth. It is a globe. The flat earth model can't have it both ways. Water can't stay flat and have to raise up and magically block your vision of a building several miles away. In another video that I have produced called Flat Earth Trolls, I go into this in detail. And this is just a composite. They link to videos of high altitude rockets and they say, see, the earth is flat, because they correct it, as they say. Well, this is a flat earth lens. I've done a lot of photography. The green arrow points to a black line that is the center of the camera's vision. And the mask on there, the red and white checker, shows you what a fisheye lens, how it warps reality. Well, the black arrows trace one of those lines, and in the other video I show how this is actually a flat line, but the fisheye lens has warped it and distorted it. If the earth were flat, it would follow that line. But in this high altitude video, 115,000 feet, I think, this lower bottom horizontal line, which is kind of the way the horizon would be if the earth was flat, if you look at the orange indicators, the earth actually rises up above that little horizontal grayish blue line. This is a fisheye lens. So in reality, it's not got that gentle rise. It's quite a curve. And I go into detail and explain how that is what actually reality is. They warp what's really happening. They change it. Like they tell you that water rises up. Oh, but it stays flat. You've really got to think about what's going on. Well, thank you for watching. I mean, it's important to not be fooled by the slick presentation. Boy, as they talk along and they just bam information at you, it's going to hit you and it's going to sound good. But then when you really slow down and start to think, wait a minute, you're telling me water angles up? I thought you just said it was flat. Please like and subscribe. I'm going to produce a video that will show you how a third grader can do an experiment for under $1 and show you how this world we live on is a globe. And it's a simple video that I'm in the middle of producing that shows how this happens. Spread the word, keep the truth flowing. Whether you think that's your truth or you think that's my truth, I would love for you to come back with a video and rebut what I've said, because when I make the water flat, the building on the other side is lower. Let's have you, please like and subscribe, and when that video comes out, comment on it, ask me questions. Great. Thank you again. I appreciate it. This is Mark, and this has been Productions MJC.